let's talk about a skill that honestly runs just about everything in our lives, communicating effectively. I mean, we do it all day, every day, but how often do we actually do it well? Let's dive in.
Oh, you know the feeling. We've all been there. You hit send, and immediately that pit forms in your stomach. That one moment, it perfectly captures the challenge we're talking about. Miscommunication happens to everyone, but it really doesn't have to.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The actual act of talking or typing or whatever. That seems simple enough. But getting the meaning, the real meaning, from your brain into someone else's, well, that's a whole different ballgame. So let's start by unpacking that. Why is something we do so constantly so incredibly hard to get right? Well, it turns out there's a ton going on just beneath the surface of every single conversation we have. You see, every time we talk to someone, we're basically juggling three things at once. First, there's the instrumental goal. That's what you want to get done, like asking a colleague to send you a report. Then there's the relational goal. You want to make sure you still have a good relationship with that person after you ask. And finally, the identity goal, how you want them to see you. Are you helpful, authoritative, smart? Trying to balance all three of those at the same time, yeah, that's what makes it so tricky. So, how in the world are we supposed to navigate this complex mess? Well, luckily for us, there's a model that works kind of like a secret map, one that helps us see all the hidden dynamics in any interaction. It gives us a framework for what's really going on. It's called the transactional model of communication. And don't let the fancy name fool you. This is a seriously powerful tool. It shows us that communication isn't just a one-way street, like someone tossing a ball to someone else. No, it's way more like a dance, where both people are sending, receiving, and creating meaning together, all at the exact same time. And what this model really boils down to are these three key things. First, communication is dynamic. It's always moving, always changing. Second, it's irreversible. Once you've said it, once you've sent that email, you can't really take it back. The bell has been rung. And finally, it's contextual. The very same words said in your boss's office versus over a beer with a friend can mean completely different things. Context is everything. Okay, so now that we get the why it's so complicated, let's get practical and jump into the how. The very first step to being a better communicator is simply choosing the right tool for the job. You gotta pick the right channel for your message. Now, channels basically come in two main flavors. You've got synchronous channels, like talking face-to-face or a video call. These are rich with information. You get instant feedback, you hear their tone of voice, you see their body language. But then you have asynchronous channels, like email or text. These are much leaner. Feedback is slow, and you lose all those extra cues. And that's why it's so easy to misunderstand a text or an email. And this brings us to a golden rule, one that will save you a world of trouble. The more important or delicate the issue, the more synchronous the channel needs to be. I mean, think about it. You'd never give someone a tough performance review over email, right? Or try to resolve a serious conflict through text messages. For the heavy stuff, you need the richness of a real-time, personal conversation. I like to think of it like a ladder. Right at the top, you've got face-to-face meetings, which are packed with every possible cue. Take one step down to a phone call, and you lose all the body language. Another step down to a text, and you lose tone of voice. You see? For the conversations that really matter, you need to climb as high up this ladder as you possibly can. But, it's not just about the channel. It's also about the people on either end of it. Our own personal habits, our backgrounds, even just how tired we are on a given day. All of it plays a massive role in how a message gets sent and, more importantly, how it's received. So let's talk about one of the biggest challenges of all, listening. I mean, really listening. It's an active skill, but there are some huge barriers that get in our way. One of the biggest, our own brain getting ahead of us. We have preconceived beliefs about what someone's going to say, so we start finishing their sentences in our heads, and we totally miss what they're actually saying. And that often ties right into another barrier. This one's more internal, a lack of self-confidence. When we feel nervous or insecure in a conversation, our focus flips inward. We stop listening to the other person because we're too busy frantically trying to plan the next brilliant thing we're going to say. We end up performing instead of actually connecting. And let's just be honest with ourselves. Listening is hard work. It takes real, focused mental energy. So when our energy is flagging, maybe we're tired or stressed out or just have a million other things on our plate, our ability to truly listen is one of the very first things to go out the window. Then you've got our brain's built-in self-defense system, We are literally wired to protect ourselves. And if we even think we sense criticism or bad news coming our way, we instinctively throw up a mental wall. That defensiveness can stop a message dead in its tracks, no matter how clearly the other person says it. So when you put all of these things together, for a lot of us, poor listening has just become a habit. We've spent our whole lives practicing thinking ahead instead of just being present in the moment. Recognizing these barriers, the mental shortcuts, the insecurity, the fatigue, the defensiveness, that's the first huge step to breaking that old habit. The source material we looked at also points out some general tendencies in communication styles, and they're worth knowing. For example, some studies suggest a tendency for men to communicate more directly to just solve the problem at hand, while women might tend to build consensus and relate personal experiences. Now, the absolute key here is that one style isn't better than the other, they're just different, and recognizing those different approaches can really help us understand each other. And by understanding these different potential styles, we can start to bridge the gap. So for someone with a more direct style, it might be really helpful to consciously pause and listen to all the details before jumping to a solution. And for someone with a more consensus-building style, it might be helpful to practice stating their needs clearly and directly. At the end of the day, it's all about adapting our own approach to communicate effectively with everyone. And there's another layer to all this: generational style. Now, of course, these are broad strokes, but just recognizing the different expectations, from a traditionalist's preference for formal chain-of-command communication to a millennial's expectation of immediate digital feedback, that awareness can prevent a ton of friction, especially in the workplace. Okay, we've gone through the theory, we've talked about the channels, and we've talked about the people. Now, for the best part. Let's wrap all this great info up into a simple, concrete action plan that you can use to improve pretty much any conversation you have. Here it is, just 5 simple steps. First, you plan. Think about your real goal and choose the right channel and the right time. Second, deliver. Just be clear, be concise. Third, and this is a big one, listen. Actively fight back against all those barriers we just talked about. Fourth, engage. Don't just talk, have a genuine reply to what was actually said. And finally, number 5, evaluate. After the conversation's over, just take a second to think, what went well? What could I do even better next? So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. Using everything you've just learned, the goals, the channels, those listening barriers, the 5-step plan, what is one single conversation, big or small, that you're going to approach just a little bit differently tomorrow? Because that is where the real change